guest today is Congressman Riley Moore from the beautiful state of West Virginia. I must tell you, when I was a little kid growing up overseas, John Denver, Almost Heaven, West Virginia, and I kept thinking, I wonder where that is over there, but it's a great song. So, welcome to our show. It's called In Layman's Terms with Guy Nohra. That's my name, Guy Nohra. We call it In Layman's Terms because what we try to do is we try to take issues that are complex to normal people who are raising their families, paying their taxes, taking their kids to soccer, and maybe watching a little football on the weekend. And we take some issues and we try to make them simplified so that they can understand, because we do need a electorate that is educated. So in your case, I was fascinated with your background. You're a young man, and already you've achieved so much. So I want to thank you for your service, first of all, and then I want to talk to you about a couple of things that you've been involved in. And then we'll just have a conversation, go back and forth. But please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you made it here, and then we're going to talk about, for me, something very important that you did when you were treasurer of the state. So,
Sure. No, thank you so much for having me on, Guy. And you are correct. A very simple thing to understand is West Virginia is beautiful. And certainly John Denver is correct in the song, Almost Heaven, West Virginia. So I'm glad that you heard that one. I'm a big fan of it. So the but yeah, so obviously I represent the 2nd Congressional District here in West Virginia. I was recently elected in 2024. Previous to this, I was state treasurer of West Virginia, which I'd done that for 4 years, a statewide elected office. And then prior to that, I was in the state legislature, briefly majority leader there, and was in the private sector after working on the Hill for a while on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And then long before all that, actually, didn't go to 4-year university right after high school. I went to trade school, and I was actually a welder. That's actually how I started my career off. So worked in a mining operation, like a open pit mine, rock quarry type thing. Worked in steel structural and machine shop, a lot of different kinds of jobs.
yep.
So I guess if this doesn't work out, I'll go back to that. So
That's it's an amazing path, and we've been having a lot of discussions. I had a seminar last week about AI, famous AI, and I think AI is going to make the trade schools make a huge comeback. And I think that's really, really important, because not everybody should go to college. And honestly, what I'm seeing coming out of the colleges does not impress me very much, i.e., Columbia. So Congressman, I used to be a venture capitalist, and I had to fundraise from pension funds. And I know that you were the leader, and I kind of follow these things in the whole movement of taking some of the states and saying, I'm not going to give my money to people that want to do ESG.
yes,
And
yeah.
was I right? Was I right that you were the leader? I think you were the first one,
You
correct?
you you are correct. I was
Okay.
the first elected official actually in the country to divest our tax dollars from BlackRock. And we did a lot of other things around anti-ESG. One was, or specifically talk about a complicated issue around proxy voting. We created a new law around that. I'm sure you're familiar with that one. And we created the restricted financial institution list, which essentially said, if you're going to boycott the fossil fuel industries, you are not going to be eligible to bid on financial services contracts with the state of West Virginia moving forward, because there was a conflict of interest there. If you were actively trying to diminish the funds that were created by fossil fuels, at the same time managing those dollars that we have procured through coal, gas, and oil, well, there's a conflict of interest there. And so, look, they can continue to do that if they want, but they weren't going to do business with us because of that inherent conflict of interest. Certainly, those companies have a First Amendment right to expressive activity that's been defined by the United States Supreme Court. But we're also a free market participant, so we were able to go out and exercise that and stipulate and proviso how we would like to contract going forward.
And I think it was an incredibly important move because I have been on public boards as an investor, and I've always I shake my head when I see these proxy votes and where they're pushing some of this company, what directions, and the fact that you actually stood up to them and said, by the way, as an old investor, when when you say jump, I jump because you're writing the check. So hopefully that gave them a wake up call because for my audience, it's not that this was a political move. This was actually something that is, you know, corporations have one job is to maximize shareholder value,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
ESG is not going to get it done. And using people's money whose jobs and lives depend on these industries is not the way to get it done ethically. So again,
No, no, and it wasn't maximizing returns as we saw. A lot of these ESG funds weren't performing as well as advertised. And go look at CalPERS in California right now, right? I mean, they're in a lot of trouble because of these ESG investment strategies that they had put in place. I'm still tracking this stuff because it's interesting to me. But now being a member of Congress in the through the appropriations process, because I'm on the House Appropriations Committee, we had put some ESG language in there in what's called the FSGG bill. That's financial services. We have SEC and a bunch of other relevant um, governmental agencies in under that bill. What I put into the bill amended in is, and this was an issue we're facing at the state, rating agencies were using ESG as part of their scoring system, which was a huge problem for us. Obviously, we can't do anything about the climate in West Virginia. We can't do anything about the population of West Virginia in terms of diversity. We can't do anything about the fact that we got hills and hollers and it rains and it floods and all these other. So there's these factors that they were pushing on us on, especially the extractive industries, coal and gas in particular, that we were potentially going to face a downgrade, even though the fiscal health of the state was just perfect. I mean, we're one of the few states, no liabilities on our pension, fully funded, essentially. I mean, everything looked very good. Surplus over $1 billion rainy day fund in a $5 billion state budget. I mean, things look great. But then we were looking at a downgrade, so we put this language in the bill asking the SEC to report back to us and pushing to prohibit this. And we're talking about S&P and Moody's, right? I mean, so if I don't like S&P, where I go, I mean, and Moody's doing the same thing. You don't have a lot of choices out here, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and they know that. So that's why it's kind of this coercive capitalism where they're trying to force behaviors in the marketplace through the ESG. So that's something that that I had just done here recently through the appropriations process.
That's great, and that just so our listeners know, this is America. We believe in free markets, and there shouldn't be any outside influences. And I think they will agree with us, even if if they're in the middle. This is not how we do things. So again, so to me, so remind me, you were then followed by several other states, correct?
Yes. So in terms of the BlackRock divestment, we had 12 other states at the time that followed us, including Texas and Florida and some of the other bigger ones. The restricted financial institution list, I think as of today, another 10 have also followed suit with that as well. So you were talking about billions and billions of dollars assets under management that were getting pulled. And you've seen these financial institutions now, particularly the election of Donald Trump and us retaining the House and Senate, start to change their tune quite a bit. Obviously, it's something I keep an eye on still, because many times they'll say they're not doing it, doing another thing, call it something else, and
Exactly,
so like
exactly.
I'm always keeping an eye on it. But it's at the end of the day, if somebody has a solar panel company and it makes money, hey, go invest in it. If
Yeah,
there's a coal company that makes money, go ahead and invest in it.
exactly.
All I want is capital to flow towards things that are actually making money and not trying to coerce it towards political ideas.
And that's the American way. That's how we create the American dream. So full support there, and I hope your efforts continue to be successful, because it's only going to be good for all of us. So thank
Yeah.
you on this. So if I can speak with you about faith, I know also you're involved in a lot of faith initiatives. Tell
Yes.
us tell us a little bit. So for me, I'm a Lebanese Christian. I fought in the Civil War against the PLO when I was 15 years
Wow.
old. So I have actually fought for my faith, and I'm a big believer. And if we didn't have if we had a second, if Lebanon would have had the equivalent of no Second Amendment, we would have been destroyed. So
Mm.
when I was running for governor, people would say, "Where do you stand on the Second Amendment?" I go, "I wouldn't be here if there was not a Second Amendment in Lebanon. So let's keep it." So anyway, back to faith.
Yeah, so this is something that's really weighed pretty heavy on my heart for a long time, and it's particularly in countries like where you are from, the Middle East, Africa, where we have Christians just being persecuted constantly. And by persecuted, I mean murdered, just for their faith, for their profession and their faith in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And so this is something that has bothered me for a very long time, going back to when I was staff on the House Foreign Affairs Committee over a decade ago. But now here I am a congressman where I can actually say something, do something about it. And the first floor speech that I gave as a member of Congress was actually about persecution of Christians in the world, specifically majority Muslim countries where it seems to be the most acute. And obviously, Lebanon being one of those, Syria being another
Yeah.
one. And Nigeria now is the most dangerous country in the world to be a Christian. We've had just this year alone, over 7,000 Christians martyred for their faith, which is just an absolute tragedy. So I've been working on this a lot. I had been requesting the president and Secretary of State Marco Rubio to designate Nigeria a country of particular concern. And just a couple weeks ago, the president heard my pleading and finally was able to do that. And I think for the president, it wasn't that he had never thought he wasn't going to. I think he's just doing so much in peace in the Middle
Yeah.
East and everything else he's got going on. I just needed to get it on his radar. And as soon as it did, boom, we got that designation because he had that designation in his first term for Nigeria. President Biden had taken it off, actually. They equated the killings to a side effect of climate change. That's why this was happening. They were not discriminate whatsoever. It was just random acts of violence because climate change had created less arable land where they could graze cattle and things like that. It's obviously totally ridiculous. But where you have Boko Haram and IS West
Yeah.
Africa and these Fulanis and everything else is going on in Nigeria right now. And so what I think is happening there is a genocide. And I've said that now many times. And so we have been working on this in Congress. President Trump has tapped me and publicly and Chairman Tom Cole to come back to him and report on our findings that we've gathered as it relates to Nigeria. And President Trump, he keeps all options on the table, obviously, and he's been very clear that even force is on the table if they do not correct this behavior that's going on over there.
Yeah, it's this is again, it applies right into where I've been thinking the whole time. So you have probably one of the most controlled conflicts in the history of the world in Gaza, where you send leaflets before you come in, you make sure everybody's out of the way, they hide behind mosques and hospitals, and somehow a whole bunch of people in the United States call that a genocide, when in
Right.
fact you and I are watching just the same. We're watching Africa, we're watching Nigeria weekly, priests, moms, children,
Oh,
y-
yeah.
with all of the usual styles these guys use, right? Going from shooting everyone to beheading to mass graves, and no one pays attention. And thank God for someone like you and getting the president's attention on that, because it's the fate of Christians in the majority Muslim countries is really, really an issue. And it's something that I want Americans, which is why we're discussing it today. I want Americans to know about it because it's not okay that this is happening. And again, your efforts have, thank you so much. And if you need an envoy, I speak 4 languages. I'm ready to serve. We will get that thing taken care of because that's crucial. But thank you so much. I want to expand a little bit to obviously Syria. Um, so the Lebanese Christians kind of held their own,
Hmm.
and still have a little bit. It's probably the only country where you can still go to church whenever you want, and you still have Christmas, and all these. We're gonna Easter, and the Pope is visiting soon, so that's a very, very
I've heard that.
good,
Yeah.
very good. But in Syria, it's not necessarily the same thing, and I'm very worried that the president of Syria was met at the White House when in fact the Christians of Syria are living in terror, in fear. And I know that's also one of your issues. So how are you working also that angle, given that that's where our religion started?
Yes, and so what I do know for a fact is that the president and the vice president spoke specifically about protecting Christians and religious minorities, obviously the Druze as well in Syria. So they talked to the president there, Syria, specifically about this, and so this is why this kind of rapprochement has taken place is part of a larger conversation. So it's going to be on this former ISIS fighter to try to do the right thing here. Or President Trump's been very clear. He cares deeply about the Christian populations of all these countries that are facing death and being martyred for their faith. And, I mean, you're home country of Lebanon. I mean, to me, I think is just such a great example. I mean, Beirut was, like the Paris of the Middle East before all of this. And now here we are, right? And Hezbollah and everybody else are,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest terrorist organizations on the face of the planet, that which, by the way, has been pretty muted as of late because of the actions of the Israelis. But beautiful, great country. And actually, you probably don't know this, but in West Virginia, we actually have pockets of Lebanese
Uh-huh.
here, actually, in my state, in my district. We have, even in my district, Our Lady of Lebanon Maronite
Uh-huh.
church, and we got about 40,000 Lebanese living in the Kanawha Valley of West Virginia, also, all of them Christian Lebanese. We had a former congressman, actually, Ray Hall, who was
Oh, yeah, of
Lebanese as
course.
well. So,
Of course.
yeah,
So
yeah.
have you been to a mass?
Mary Night Mass?
Yeah.
No, I've not. I'm Catholic. I've not been to Mary Night Mass, though.
Well, we Maronites, we belong to the Catholic Church.
Oh, I know you do. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
So
know. Yeah.
please, I'd love you. I would love you to go. It's a special experience. So
Yeah, no, I definitely would love
maybe we'll
to
go
go.
together one day. I
Hey, invite me. I'll be there.
you
I'm in Mass every Sunday.
Okay. No, we were one of the few Eastern churches that actually hung with Rome, and that's
Yes.
why the Pope is coming to visit. Actually, when I came to the U.S. when I was 15, I've gone to Catholic church my whole life, and there's no Lebanese, Maronite. There is, but it's too far away, and so on. So, but again,
Well,
your
you should have moved
efforts.
to Wheeling, West Virginia. We got one for you.
Next time I go, I promise,
Yeah.
because it's beautiful over there too. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, your efforts. I wasn't kidding. Anything I can do to help because I know this region very, very well. If you want to call me one on one, I understand the nuances. I understand who's who, what they do, what they don't do. I want to help you in your efforts because I. My heart just suffers every time I see what's happening in Nigeria, and I
Yeah.
know exactly what these people are going through, and I'm not sure how finally we have a president who cares,
Yes.
versus in the past where somehow that wasn't important. And I think there's things that we want to do about that. But also, if we, to finish, tell me about your latest projects, as far as appropriations, and now that the shutdown's over and all these other things. I think, again, I believe that you are a rising star in our party, and I want my
Oh, thank
audience.
you.
I want my audience to know about you and follow you and support you.
Well, thank you for saying that. And yeah, I'm very blessed. I'm the only freshman, Democrat or Republican, to be on the House Appropriations Committee, and so we've just gone through that reopening the government there yesterday. But you know what? This shutdown, we actually ended up better than where we started because all what we were asking for was a CR 6 weeks to get us to November 21st so we could finish the appropriations bills. So we got a CR continuing resolution now that we passed that goes to the end of January, and we got 3 appropriations bills done on top of that. So now we have another 9 to get through the rest, and the Senate's already now talking about doing another 4 and the big 4. So that'd be
Yeah,
defense, labor HHS, transportation, housing, urban development, commerce, justice, science. I mean, that
yeah,
if we get those 4 layered in with it, you're talking about 80%, if not
budget.
more,
Yeah,
of the entire budget. So that's a really big deal. So my constituents, I know people all over this country have been no more omnibuses. Let's get back to regular order. And that is actually what we are delivering on here. And I think this was a big victory for the American people, for the Republican Party, for President Trump, for Speaker Mike Johnson, Leader Thune, and my chairman, Tom Cole. We stuck to our guns, stuck to the strategy, and made no concessions. And unfortunately, we did witness there's what in the levels to which the Democrats are willing to go to inflict pain and suffering on the average person to achieve their own political objectives, but they fell flat on all of those things. So I think at the end of the day, we're coming out of this better and stronger, and we're actually returning to regular order, which I think is great news for the American taxpayer.
yes. At least we know we'll have our government work for us again. But just for my audience, the the appropriation is one of the most important committees, and it's a hierarchical world over there. And the fact that Congressman Moore is on it is actually a big kudos to his talent and his experience, and the fact that his colleagues thought he's worth to be on that committee. So again, I just want to, we talk about these things like we, CR and so on, but people just
Yeah,
only, and my whole thing is I want to bring people to understand so that they can make their own minds, and hopefully they'll make their minds on the side of common sense, on the side of, yes, it's not okay to kill Nigerians because of the weather. It doesn't matter what happened with the climate, but
right.
you still shouldn't be killing Christian Nigerians. The common sense issues here. So I think that's very important. One of the things also I saw you work on is state rights. Was that
Mhm.
so? Uh, uh, Explain that to us also, because we're seeing it live, ironically, on the other side, right? Even though it's illegal, but these cities where they're kind of blocking ICE from coming in and so on. These sanctuary cities, sanctuary states. That's kind of state rights, but not exactly the way it was meant to be in the Constitution. But tell us a little bit about that.
Well, one I would talk about is specifically in terms of this. What's been huge for the states is the post Dobbs decision, right? And for our ability, like in the state of West Virginia, to say, actually, we're going to change our law to conform to where our people are, where we ended up with 0 weeks now in West Virginia for abortion, which is a big deal for us. But then we're also contending with all the time federal overreach as it relates to gun regulations and all these other things, which that's very important to us. And for West Virginians, we, it's spelled out pretty clearly our right to keep and bear arms. It's in the United States Constitution. I don't know why we need all these regulations around this, but you know, eh, during the Biden years, we had a lot of federal overreach back to that ESG issue. They were trying to push a lot of this through the Security and Exchange Commission and actually adopt in the federal government this coercive capitalism that would have been hugely destructive to the state of West Virginia. So, yeah, it's always, and then, the Democrats are always trying to federalize elections, right? Like take away our ability to control our own elections and things like that. So, Luckily, a lot of that tide has turned for now,
For now.
but, that's something that we always gotta keep an eye on, and God willing, we're able to keep the House in unified government for the rest of President Trump's term so we can turn this ship around.
Yeah, and again, luckily it's open again, and you and your colleagues have been doing a amazing job as far as getting things done. Wasn't the famous "Let them learn how to code"? Was that meant towards your coal miners?
Unfortunately, that was
That
Hillary
was
Clinton, yeah,
yeah.
telling our coal miners to quit their jobs and learn how to code.
And you
Um,
and you know what's funny is that AI is gonna take all the coders' jobs, so
yeah,
go
yeah,
back to the
AI is
mine.
taking the coders' jobs, so they've been out of work again. So,
Yeah.
luckily, we got the, coal mines operating again, and, like, and we're doing well in energy production, West Virginia right now, but, a lot of people are talking about inflation and price of goods and things like that, and you know this as well as anybody. A lot of that is driven by energy costs, right? Because
Exactly.
everything travels on road and rail or air. Any product that you consume is moving across the country at some point and it's manufactured and this and that. Energy drives inflation. It does. And so the more we can unleash American energy, the cheaper the cost of living is going to be, coupled with President Trump reshoring these jobs that have left the United States is also going to affect the cost of living here as well.
On the energy subject, I agree with you 100%, and I got my best lesson on this from Landman, the show. Be-
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
Remember,
show.
he says
Yeah.
everything you do, everything you touch, everything you drive, everything
Yeah.
it comes from energy. It comes from So I think it was a great again for the layman to actually learn it that way, because if we say it, they think we have an agenda. So that's this is one of those things that I think we it was amazing for everybody to learn. And so I want to I would love to come say hi when I go by DC, and just to connect with you some more. I think you're doing again great job. Anything you might need from us, from me, please let me know. And I'm serious about the envoy thing. I've been to Lagos. I've been all over the world. I've because my background. Um, so please keep up the good work, and don't let anybody stop you, because I think you're in the right direction. And again, for me to have followed your treasury back then, knowing about it, I think that says that's it was needed. Again, I sit on these boards and I get these ISS and these crazy
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
proxies being voted on, and the American, my audience doesn't understand how that works. It's like, they force shareholder votes in on public companies, and that's not how the world's supposed to work. So, again, you raised that alarm, so thank you for that. People now know there are funds being started that don't invest in ESG at all, and so I think, and you had leverage and money talks, and I think you guys did a great job. And start again, you were the leader of the group, so I thank you as a conservative American.
Well, thank you for even following. I didn't know who was paying attention, so I appreciate it.
Random
But
guy in Reno.
yeah, but I'll tell you this: please come visit me when you're in Washington D.C. We'll go to Mary Night Mass. I'd love that. Maybe you can even come to my district. We'll go to one. I've been to a lot of different types of Catholic churches. I've not been to Mary Night Mass. Shame to say that I've not done that yet, but my Catholic faith really defines who I am and what I do and how I do things. And I,
Same.
I pray every day that I can find God's will in my work. And it's kind of led me to fight for these Christians that are being persecuted right now.
And I think, again, God is so important in these situations, because you have clarity, and clarity is so important when you're someone who's Christian. And just so you know, the way the Catholic Church used to have Latin during the Eucharist, the
Hmm.
Maronite Church uses Syriac, like Jesus's language from way
Oh
back when.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very, very touching. So I think I want to do it in your district. So that's what we'll do. Maybe I'll come in and big. You probably don't need my help, but I'll go speak to the Lebanese community, and have them come and vote for you and volunteer for you.
Yeah, we got a Lebanese festival every summer in July. So you want to come by up there in
Okay.
Wheeling? Yeah,
I'll
it's a good
I'll
one.
help you. I'll help you with the food.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds
Okay.
good.
Congressman, thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and I'm very serious about staying in touch.
No, please, let's do.
Okay.
That'd be
Okay.
very helpful for me, and I'd love to.
And I know you're very busy, so thank you for the time you gave me today.
No, anytime.
God
Appreciate you so
bless.
much.
God bless, and have a great weekend.
God bless you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye bye. Thank you.